later my partner is like having sex with somebody else and not responding to my calls, I would be upset. I would just be upset. That would be upsetting to me. Not because I'm territorial, not because I'm like clingy, not because I'm overly jealous or my self esteem is low, because
even if you are.
I am not wired for non monogamous relationships. So that would upset me, you know? So you need to ask yourself that. Are you okay with the potential emotional discomfort that might come with this? Now, if the answer is yes, give it a try. And then listen, you might end up loving it. It might end up really working for you. You might end up having like a great sort of communication with your partner that allows this to be possible. You might be really open with each other. This might end up being a beautiful thing. It also might end up being a catastrophe. And you're heartbroken and it's sad and you break up and it's a catastrophe. You won't know until you try how you're going to feel about it, right? So, giving it a try might be the answer for you, but it's also okay to be like, I actually can't, responsibly agree to this with my partner because I know that it will be the ultimate demise of this relationship and, you know, really be a setback for me personally because I'm going to find myself in an emotionally turbulent sort of place, right? Anytime you put yourself into a situation that is harmful, you're setting yourself back in a way. It's
Congratulations, Mom and Dad. Your life now revolves around sports.
that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, but it's something to consider, right? Like it's similar to like when you're going through a breakup and your ex texts you and you're like, fuck, I know I can't go back to this ex because we have a toxic relationship. They're really avoidant, and every time I'm with them, my self esteem dips dramatically, and we just have a really toxic relationship. Like, I shouldn't respond, but you're uncomfortable going through this breakup, and so you're basically choosing what pain hurts less. Like, would you rather mourn the loss of the relationship, continue to mourn the loss of the relationship, but hopefully be in a stronger, better place soon, better off without this person? Or would you rather get sort of a boost of excitement by responding to your ex and opening that door again, but long term putting yourself into a position where you're hurting yourself in a way and you're going to be held back by that decision? Because anytime you make a decision that's sort of a regression in some way, there's a price to pay for that. Now, does that price teach you something? Absolutely, but there's a price to pay. And in this scenario, it's like, if you know that this is going to hurt you, but because you love him so much, you're like, fuck it, I'll just do this. Have an open relationship. You're regressing. You're going backwards. You're putting yourself into harm's way, and you will pay a price for that. Now, only you can make this decision. Only you can. So I can't tell you what to do, because I'm not in your brain. But I think you really need to heavily consider how this is going to end. Think of it all the way through to the end. And I would say make the decision that ends the best. I know it's potentially sad and scary to say to the man that you love, I don't want to be in an open relationship, even though that's what you want and you said that you possibly even need. I don't think I can do that for you, but I really want to be with you because you're the love of my life. How do we figure this out? That's a scary conversation to have. But I would say it's even scarier to lie to your partner and say, yes, this totally works. Let's do it. I want to be in an open relationship, when you actually don't. And then to end up breaking up anyway in probably a far more messy way. And then be in a worse place than you needed to be in. I wish you luck on this journey. It's so tough. It's so tough when you love someone so deeply, but there is a fundamental difference in opinions. It's like Romeo and Juliet in a way, where it's like we want to be together so bad, but we kind of can't. It really is like that. It sucks. So I wish you luck, and I send you both my love. Okay, moving on. Somebody said, my boyfriend wants a threesome, and I'm uncomfortable with the thought. Is this normal in long-term relationships? Am I not enough for him? We already touched on a lot of this before, but this is a slightly different question. So to start, your boyfriend wants a threesome and you're not comfortable with the thought. That is 1000% valid. Do not for a second even doubt the validity of that feeling. Okay? It's all fun and games when two people are down for a threesome. It's great. Everything works smoothly. Sometimes, usually. Like, what a beautiful thing. However, it can get really messy really quick when one person wants a threesome and the other person doesn't, right? And again, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's this discourse in Gen Z nowadays that's, I don't know. I think being in a long-term monogamous relationship can be considered vanilla, traditional, boring, old-fashioned, whatever, depending on the audience. And I hate that. Like, I really hate that. If you want to be open, if you want to have a threesome in your relationship, that's amazing. Go fucking do that. If that feels comfortable for you, go do that. But as I said earlier, if you want to be in a monogamous relationship, there's nothing wrong with that either. And I'm being more defensive of the monogamous sort of relationship because I think that that's the dating genre that's perhaps, I don't know, it's depending on the audience, it's more critiqued nowadays. I would say wrongfully. Like, who cares what other people do sexually, romantically? I'm getting kind of triggered by this topic. I'm like ranting. Okay, anyway, so to wrap up this thought, there is nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable by the thought of a threesome. There is nothing wrong with that. And I really hope that you don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Now, the next part of this question, is it normal in a long-term relationship for, say, a boyfriend to want a threesome? I would say it actually probably is somewhat normal, especially nowadays when threesomes and open relationships are much more common. I think in a long-term relationship, it is definitely not abnormal for a boy to be like, oh, it'd be fun to spice things up and add another person into the bedroom. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly weird or even wrong about that, right? I think it is definitely a common thing, and I think it's probably been a common thing for a long time, but, say 100 years ago, that was definitely taboo. There were no threesomes happening in a socially acceptable way. I think now, young people especially are like, if I have a sort of sexual desire, I'm just going to share it because we live in a very accepting time. And so I think it is normal. However, that doesn't mean that you have to be okay with it. Just because it's normal doesn't mean that it makes sense for you in your relationship. And the last part of this question was, am I not enough for him? Is that why he wants a threesome? I mean, I can't read your boyfriend's mind. And listen, I wish I could. Actually, I'm glad I can't read minds. That's not a superpower that I want. I like not knowing what people are thinking. It's kind of a relief. I think there are a few reasons why your boyfriend might want a threesome, okay?
Singing tonight. It's a good idea, right? Singing tonight. Whatever, it's fine. Yes, I know that he's my ever. Can't do people forget the time. Makes me have some fun. Biggest lie I ever said.
With Chewy, get their mealtime match at a great price. Jack needs a high-protein recipe that will take him to new heights. Oliver, not so much. He needs a weight loss recipe for his laid-back lifestyle. For endless variety, for life with pets, there's Chewy.
Potential reason number one, because maybe his friends are having threesomes and he heard, from his friends or maybe even from people on the internet that threesomes are really fun and really hot and it's a vibe and everyone should try it. Like, maybe it got recommended to him in some way. That's a potential option number two. Maybe he's feeling a bit understimulated by your guys' sex life, not because you're not incredible or not because he doesn't love you, but maybe he's somebody who watches a lot of dynamic porn and he's maybe feeling like there's not enough spice and maybe he thinks bringing another person in would spice things up. That doesn't mean you're not awesome. It might just be his own personal journey, like sexually. Maybe he's like, who knows, like maybe he just needs a lot of stimulation. Again, is that right? Does that make it fair to you if it's not something that you want to do? No. I'm proposing these potential scenarios with no bias towards him or against him, okay? These are completely neutral. I'm just stating what it could possibly be, like what his reason could be. A third option could be that maybe he is feeling a bit bored of the relationship. Maybe he is kind of getting a bit of cold feet. This is possible, and maybe he thinks, okay, I could save this relationship by bringing someone else in. That's also a possibility. But it doesn't really matter why he wants to do this. What matters right now is that you don't. You don't want to do it, okay? Now, to answer your question, am I not enough for him? It doesn't matter if he's getting bored of the relationship or if he just watches crazy porn and like wants to live it in real life. Okay? It doesn't matter what extreme he's on. You are enough as a person. Okay? I won't have any of this. Him wanting to have a threesome has nothing to do with the value that you bring as a human being. You are incredible. You are enough, and there are many people on this planet that would love to be with you and wouldn't be asking you for a threesome, right? Like, this comes down to his sexual desires as an individual, okay? And the other thing is, I think most young men would love to have a threesome. But I think a lot of guys are just too scared to ask. Like, I think most guys, are you kidding me? Of course they, do you know what I mean? Like, I bet every guy I've ever dated has wanted to have a threesome while they were with me. But they all knew that I prefer monogamous relationships, and so they never even asked because they already knew the answer would be no, right? Like, I think most guys would love to have a threesome. So no, I don't think it has anything to do with you. I think your boyfriend just